All right, everybody, school is out, which means that kids are headed outdoors to play in those summer sports leagues. And our hospital experts at East Cooper Medical and East Cooper Sports Medicine want to keep the kids injury-free this summer. Dr. David Geyer joins us with some tips. Dr. Geyer, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, tell me a little bit. It seems like these injuries, we're hearing more and more about them, and I'm sure that you're seeing more and more kids come in your office with several sports-related injuries.
Well, we're definitely seeing more injuries. Part of that's because more kids are playing than ever before, which is a good thing. We like that. But what we're also seeing is more and more kids get hurt. We're seeing this trend for kids playing one sport year-round, with no break. It's warm weather in the South. They can play baseball or soccer 12 months a year, and that wear and tear on one part of the body tends to cause injury.
What exactly are you starting to see more of? Is it ACL things? Is it Tommy John stuff? Is it concussions? What are really kind of the trends right now?
Well, it really depends on the sport and the demands of that sport. So in a sport like football, where you unfortunately have a lot of head injuries and blows to the body that cause injury to the head, you see concussions. In a running sport, it may be knee and ankle overuse injuries. In a sport like baseball, overuse injuries to the shoulder and elbow. And unfortunately, we're seeing a huge spike in the overuse injuries.
A lot of kids, especially if they're in these really high-level leagues, they're going to keep playing because obviously they want that playing time to move on to the next level, perhaps college and professional. So when do you as a parent have to say, hey, you know what, something's not right with you, we need to get you checked out?
Well, we really feel like, first of all, the prevention side of that's really important. So we really advocate that parents give their kids at least 2 or 3 months off of any particular sport for the year. But you're right, as they start to play more and more, you've got to keep an eye out for injuries. Pay attention to, because a lot of times they won't tell you that they're hurting. They don't want to let you down. So you look for changes in their techniques, or that they're just hurting. Maybe they're not sleeping well or not eating well. So parents need to look for some of those signs, and then keep a dialogue with their kids, not about how they're playing or if they're winning, but just how things are going, and the kids will start to open up about injuries.
You mentioned how, you can play here 12 months out of the year because it's beautiful weather, of course, but when it gets hot and humid like this, getting into the summer months, what exactly do you need to do to prevent injury?
Well, the first thing I'd say, and especially now, the beginning of June, is you've got a couple months, especially heading into the fall sports, for these kids to get in shape. Most of the issues with heat illness really affect obese kids, so get in good cardiovascular condition now. But it's also really important they eat a well-balanced diet. Get rid of the junk food, the fast food, fruits, vegetables, and then start drinking a lot of water all throughout the day, not just during and after exercise. And those are probably the key take-home points to sort of prevent some of these dehydration and heat issues.
Let's talk about the one that's, of course, garnering all the headlines, and that, of course, is concussions with football season and, summer camp starting up and things like that. Is there any way to really prevent this? Is there a special helmet? Do you want to tell your kids not to go as hard during some camps as opposed to games? I mean, what do we do?
Well, I wish I could give you one particular answer. There really doesn't seem to be a helmet that's any better. I think what you'll start to see is maybe limiting the amount of contact that they get. You'll start to see fewer and fewer contact practices and things like that. I think what's really important is that we educate the kids about what the signs of the concussions are, and make sure that they know to tell the parents, tell the coaches that they're having trouble, to pull them out of the game and have them evaluated. Where we get into trouble is when these kids continue to play and they take more and more blows to the head that have this cumulative effect.
What are those signs that a parent or a child needs to watch out for?
So you look for things like headaches, you look for dizziness, you look for maybe not remembering the plays as well, or not running them as clearly as you normally do. They just don't feel right. You may see personality changes where they're more angry or they're not as interested in things. Little subtle things that clue you, maybe not concussion, but it's worth getting checked out.
Certainly that's one side of the spectrum. What about home remedies? Let's say if a kid, slides into second or something like that, and you just kind of want to ice and heat. What exactly advice do you recommend for that?
Typically, and it really depends on the injury, but generally we start off with ice. We think that heat for most injuries is actually going to make the body parts swell more and hurt more. So ice, getting off of it, either stop using the arm or get off the leg, some sort of compression like an ACE bandage and elevation, and then see how it does over the next 12 to 48 hours. If it's not getting that much better, it's worth calling and just having it checked out.
Dr. Geyer, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can certainly contact us through the East Cooper. We have a sports medicine website, eastcoopersportsmedicine.com, and certainly call through the hospital, and they can get anyone with our team.
There you go. Information on the screen right there. Doctor, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Great information. We do appreciate it. Stay with us. We're back with our friends from La Fontana in the studio kitchen. That's next.